All right, let's jump right in. Today we're going deep into the world of the Normans.
The Normans.
Yeah, using the Wikipedia article that you sent over.
Sounds good.
Now, this isn't just like your typical history lesson, names and dates.
Right.
We're talking about Viking raiders who somehow transform themselves into like these sophisticated rulers with a crazy amount of influence.
It really is incredible when you think about their reach.
Yeah.
From Scandinavia all the way to the
To
Mediterranean,
the Mediterranean.
even the Near East.
And even the Near East, yeah.
Their impact is just undeniable.
It's massive.
It's huge.
So get ready to uncover how a bunch of Vikings ended up speaking, get this, a French dialect.
Yeah.
And how they built some of the most iconic castles in Europe and even had a hand in shaping the music we hear today.
Quite a story.
Yeah, but to understand all that, we need to rewind back to the beginning.
Okay.
Who know these Normans?
All right. So the story starts with a mix of Norse settlers.
Norse settlers.
Mainly Danish, but also Norwegians, Swedes, and even Anglo-Danes from the Danelaw.
Wow, a real mix.
Yeah, and they started chuttling in what was then West Francia,
West Francia?
the western part of the Carolingian Empire, or as we know it today, France.
Okay, so not just your typical, like, horned helmet Viking rampaging through Europe.
Not exactly.
They were actually putting down roots.
Yeah, they were intermarrying with the locals, creating a whole new identity.
So the name Normans, where does that come from?
Well, it's derived from Northmen,
Northmen.
literally meaning men from the north.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, there's this 11th century historian, Goffredo Malaterra,
Okay.
and he described them as cunning, ambitious, eloquent, with a love for war and horses.
Cunning, ambitious, and eloquent.
Yeah,
That's a pretty formidable combination.
it is. Quite a potent mix, you could say.
Yeah, definitely a recipe for success. But how did they go from just one group among many in this melting pot of West Francia to actually establishing their own powerful duchy?
Well, it all starts with sieges and ends with treaties. Picture this. A Viking leader named Rollo,
Rollo.
also known as Gainsrolf.
Gainsrolf.
He had been a real thorn in the side of the French for years.
I bet.
And in 911 AD, he lays siege to Chartres.
Chartres.
And King Charles III, probably just exhausted from all the Viking raids,
Yeah,
decides it's time to strike a deal.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I can just imagine the scene.
Oh, yeah.
The dust settling after the siege, the
Mhm.
tense negotiations.
The king offering Rollo land in exchange for peace, and of course, conversion to Christianity.
Right, the classic convert or die situation.
Pretty much. But do we actually know what motivated Rollo to accept this deal?
That's a good question. What do the sources say?
While they don't really delve into his psychology,
Right.
it's pretty clear that Rollo was a shrewd leader. He probably recognized that this offer was a unique opportunity.
To what? To just settle down and have a peaceful life?
Not quite. It was a chance to establish a Seminole base, gain wealth and influence, and ultimately secure a legacy for himself and his followers.
Oh, so it was more about long-term power and influence.
Exactly. And the result of this deal was the Treaty of Franclair-Seurat,
Treaty of Saint-Clair-Seurat.
which led to the birth of the County of Rouen,
County of Rouen.
the seed that would eventually grow into the Duchy of Normandy.
Oh, wow. So this is where it all began.
Geographically speaking, we're talking about the northern part of present-day Upper Normandy, stretching down to the Seine River and beyond.
So from Viking raider to a French duke.
That's quite a transformation.
It is. Rollo basically traded his longships for a ducal coronet.
That's one way to put it.
But becoming French wasn't just about a change in title, right?
Right.
Did they just completely abandon their North heritage and traditions?
Not at all. And that's what makes the Normans so fascinating.
Okay, good.
They understood that adaptability was key to their survival and success. So while they did convert to Christianity and adopted the language of the Franks, which was Old French at the time,
Okay.
they also held on to their martial spirit and that Viking thirst for adventure.
So it's almost like they cherry-picked the best of both worlds.
You could say that. They created a unique hybrid culture,
A blend of Viking grit and Frankish sophistication. No wonder they were so
a
successful.
winning combination.
This brings us to those famous Norman conquests.
Ah, yes, the conquests.
Everyone knows about William the Conqueror
Of course.
and the Norman conquest of England in 1066.
A pivotal moment in history.
Immortalized in the Bayeux Tapestry.
A remarkable piece of art.
I mean, it's almost impossible not to picture those Norman knights charging uphill at the Battle of Hastings, clashing with the Anglo-Saxon forces.
Quite a dramatic scene.
The conquest of England is definitely their most famous feat, but their ambitions stretched much farther than that.
Much farther, yeah.
They established the Kingdom of Sicily under Roger II.
That's right.
After a series of campaigns led by figures like Robert Guiscard,
A formidable leader.
who carved out a Norman domain in southern Italy, taking on both the Byzantines and the Muslims.
They were not afraid of a challenge.
Wow, so they weren't just focused on the north, they were venturing south, battling empires, mixing it up in the Mediterranean. Robert Guiscard, though, fill me in on who he was.
He was an incredibly ambitious Norman adventurer. He, along with his brothers, conquered much of southern Italy and Sicily in the 11th century,
Wow.
known for his military prowess and cunning. Played a pivotal role in establishing the Normans as a major power in the region.
So the Norman conquest of southern Italy is a story in itself.
Oh, absolutely. A saga of battles, sieges, and political maneuvering that ultimately led to the creation of this unique kingdom
Yeah.
that blended Norman, Byzantine, and Arab cultures. It's a real testament to their ability to adapt, conquer, and rule in such diverse environments.
Okay, so they could handle the north, they could handle the south. What about their other conquests? Did they leave their mark on other parts of Europe too?
Absolutely. Their reach was incredible. They invaded Ireland in 1169, primarily settling in the east,
Okay.
leaving behind a legacy that's still visible in Irish surnames and architecture today.
Interesting.
They also had a significant impact on Scotland and Wales, leaving their mark on the political landscape, introducing Norman customs and laws, and their influence even extended beyond Europe.
Beyond Europe.
Yeah, with Norman knights participating in the Crusades, carving out their own principalities in the Levant. They even reached the Canary Islands in the 15th century.
It's like they had a map of medieval Europe and just decided to plant their flag everywhere.
It does seem that way.
Their military achievements are definitely impressive, but conquering is only part of the story, right?
Right.
They weren't just about brute force.
Exactly. While their military prowess was undeniable, their success also stemmed from their ability to adapt, assimilate, and innovate within the cultures they encountered.
Yeah.
They were conquerors, yes, but also savvy administrators and cultural chameleons.
Cultural chameleons.
Yeah, blending their own traditions with those of the people they ruled.
So a complex mix of military might, administrative skills, and cultural blending. That's what set them apart from, say, a typical band of Viking raiders.
Absolutely. They were far more than just raiders.
But let's unpack this cultural blending a bit more.
Okay.
We know they came from Scandinavia, adopted French,
Right.
but then conquered England, a land with its own language and traditions. How did that play out linguistically? Did they just end up speaking a mishmash of languages?
That's where things get really interesting. Instead of like a linguistic free-for-all, the Normans primarily adopted the language of the Franks, Old French.
Okay.
But in doing so, they created their own distinct dialect, Old Norman.
Old Norman.
And this wasn't just, some slang or a regional accent.
Right.
It ended up having a profound influence on both French and English, shaping the languages we speak today.
So not Norse, but a unique Norman French dialect that kind of bridged the gap between their Viking heritage and their new Frankish reality.
Exactly. They found a way to blend their past with their present.
That's fascinating. But language is just one piece of the puzzle. What about their law? Did they try to impose, like, Viking laws on the land that they conquered, or did they adapt to existing systems?
Their approach to law was surprisingly nuanced. They blended Frankish traditions with Viking influences,
Okay.
and even drew upon Carolingian legal structures.
So a real mix and match approach.
You could say that. They created a hybrid system that was both innovative and pragmatic.
Practical, yeah.
For example, in England, they implemented a feudal system,
Okay.
and they meticulously documented land ownership and obligations in the famous Domesday Book.
The Domesday Book, wow. So they were pretty organized.
Very organized. This wasn't just about imposing their will, it was about creating a system that was efficient and legitimized their rule.
So they brought order and documentation to a system that I imagine was a much more chaotic before their arrival.
That's a fair assessment.
A meticulous record of land ownership like the Domesday Book must have been quite a shock to the Anglo-Saxons.
It probably was, a very clear signal of who was now in charge.
But speaking of imposing their will, we can't forget about those iconic Norman castles. Those weren't just for show, were they?
Definitely not. Those castles were both symbols of Norman power and strategic strongholds that played a key role in solidifying their control over conquered territories.
So form and function.
Precisely. Their architecture, particularly the Romanesque style with its rounded arches and massive proportions, is still recognizable today. Just think of the White Tower in London, or the numerous Norman cathedrals and castles scattered across England, Ireland, and even further afield. These weren't just military fortifications, they were statements of dominance designed to awe and intimidate.
It's like their ambition is literally etched in stone.
It's a powerful visual legacy.
These structures weren't just about function, they were also about projecting an image, shaping the landscape to reflect their newfound power and influence. But conquering and building weren't their only talents, were they? Did they contribute anything to the arts and music of the time?
While their artistic style might not be as immediately recognizable as their architecture, The Normans did play a role in reviving art and scholarship during the 11th century.
Interesting. So beyond the castles.
Yeah, the Bayeux Tapestry, for example, although created by English artisans, is a testament to their patronage of the arts
Okay.
and provides us with this vivid glimpse into the events surrounding the Norman conquest of England.
The Bayeux Tapestry, it's like a medieval graphic novel.
It really is, capturing the drama and chaos of the conquest. And what's intriguing about the Bayeux Tapestry is that it wasn't just a piece of propaganda celebrating Norman victory.
Okay.
It actually offers a surprisingly nuanced perspective, even depicting moments of Anglo-Saxon bravery and Norman setbacks.
So not just patrons of the arts, but also promoters of a somewhat balanced historical narrative, at least for their time.
It seems that way. They were more complex than just ruthless conquerors.
And what about music? Did they bring over those Viking horns and create some sort of proto-heavy metal?
Not quite heavy metal, but their musical contributions were surprisingly sophisticated. Normandy, particularly Fécamp Abbey, became a center for musical innovation. They actually developed a system of denoting musical notes with letters,
Oh, wow.
a precursor to modern musical notation.
Really?
This system, along with their renowned singing traditions, helped shape the development of Western music as we know it.
So not just warriors and builders, but also innovators in music and patrons of the arts. It seems like these Normans were the ultimate multitaskers.
They certainly wore many hats.
But their story, like all good things, eventually had to come to an end. What ultimately happened to them? Did they just fade away into the cultures they conquered?
That's where things get even more interesting. Their legacy is much more complex and enduring than simply disappearing into the annals of history. Remember, they ruled England for centuries after the Norman conquest, fundamentally reshaping the political landscape.
Right, the impact was long-lasting.
William the Conqueror and his descendants sat on the English throne,
Of course.
but they also held lands in France as dupes of Normandy.
Right, they had a foot in both worlds.
And this created a fascinating and often tense dynamic.
They were ruling England while also being vassals to the French king for their continental holdings. That must have led to some pretty awkward family dinners.
I imagine it did, a constant balancing act between two powerful kingdoms.
What impact did this dual role have on their identity and their relationship with both England and France?
It was a delicate balancing act, to say the least.
I bet.
Imagine trying to maintain your power and influence while juggling the interests of two kingdoms,
Yeah,
each with their own ambitions and rivalries.
right, a recipe for conflict.
And this tension ultimately contributed to conflicts like the Hundred Years' War,
The 100 Years' War.
a protracted struggle that saw the Norman aristocracy in England increasingly identifying as English,
Oh, wow.
defending their adopted homeland against, well, other Normans.
History is full of twists and turns, isn't it? The Normans who once conquered England, now fighting to protect it from their own kin. But even with all the conflicts and power struggles, their cultural influence must have left a lasting imprint, right? Did Old Norman just fade away as they integrated into English society?
The linguistic legacy is particularly fascinating. The Anglo-Norman language that developed in England was a unique blend of Norman French and Old English.
So a real hybrid language.
Exactly, a testament to the cultural mixing that took place. And this hybrid language eventually contributed to the evolution of modern English,
Wow.
meaning that some of the words we use today have their roots in that Norman French dialect brought over by William the Conqueror and his forces.
So the Normans didn't just leave behind castles and tapestries, they also shaped the very way we speak.
It's a powerful reminder that language is constantly evolving, shaped by conquest, migration, and cultural exchange.
Even something as fundamental as language bears the mark of the Normans.
Precisely. Their influence permeates our world in ways we might not even realize.
But their influence wasn't limited to England, was it? Did they leave similar legacies in other parts of Europe?
Absolutely. Their impact to be traced throughout the regions they conquered. In southern Italy, for instance, their rule fostered a fascinating blend of cultures.
Tell me more about that.
We're talking Norman, Byzantine, Greek, Arab, Lombard, and Sicilian influences, all swirling together.
Wow, a real melting pot.
The Norman kings of Sicily were known for their tolerance and their ability to incorporate elements from different cultures into their court and administration.
Sounds like they were ahead of their time.
They created a truly unique melting pot, a vibrant mix of art, architecture, and intellectual exchange.
It seems like the Normans had a knack for not just conquering, but also integrating and adapting to different cultural contexts.
It was one of their defining characteristics.
They were like cultural sponges, absorbing and transforming everything they encountered. This adaptability seems to be a recurring theme in their story. But was there a downside to their rule? Did this blending of cultures always go smoothly?
That's a crucial question, and it brings us to a more nuanced understanding of their legacy. While the Norman conquests were undoubtedly transformative, they weren't without their share of conflict and upheaval.
Right. Conquering lands and establishing new rule inevitably brings about change, and change isn't always welcomed with open arms.
Exactly. The Norman conquest often involved the displacement of existing elites, the imposition of new laws and taxes, and sometimes even the violent suppression of resistance.
So, a more complicated picture emerges.
The story of the Normans is a complex tapestry woven from threads of ambition, innovation, and cultural blending, but also from the darker hues of power struggles, resistance, and the inevitable consequences of conquest.
It reminds us that history is rarely black and white,
It's full of shades of gray.
a mix of triumphs and tragedies, progress and setbacks.
Exactly. The Normans embody this complexity.
But even with these complexities, the Norman story is captivating. They were, in many ways, the ultimate overachievers of the medieval world, weren't they? Yeah, they definitely left their mark on history, and it's fascinating to consider all the ways they influenced the world. But now I'm curious about the flip side of that coin. How did these conquests and encounters with different cultures, shape the Normans themselves? Did becoming the conquerors actually change who they were?
That's a question that kind of takes us into the realm of speculation.
Right.
But by looking at the historical evidence, we can make some, educated guesses. What stands out is their remarkable adaptability. They went from pagan raiders to devout Catholics,
Yeah.
from Norse speakers to French speakers, all while holding on to their ambition and military prowess.
It's like they were able to adapt to new environments without losing sight of who they were at their core.
Yeah, it's really quite remarkable.
So they were masters of reinvention. They could change their cultural colors, but certain core values, those remained constant.
It seems that way.
But didn't all this adapting and integrating create a sort of identity crisis, though? Who were the Normans, really? Were they Norse, French, English, or something else entirely?
That's the paradox of the Norman identity. They were constantly evolving, absorbing new influences, redefining themselves. It's almost as if their identity wasn't something fixed, but rather something forged in the crucible of conquest and cultural exchange.
Wow, that's a powerful image.
They weren't bound by a single definition, they embraced the complexities of their heritage.
So it's like they were constantly asking themselves, who are we now? With each new conquest and each new interaction.
Yeah, I think that's a very insightful way to look at it.
And the answer probably wasn't always simple, was it?
Not at all. Think about the Norman kings of England, descended from Vikings, ruling over a largely Anglo-Saxon population, while also being vassals to the French king. Talk about a complicated family tree.
Yeah, that's layers upon layers of identity right there.
Their identity was a tapestry woven from multiple threads, a constant balancing act between different cultural influences and loyalties.
They must have been masters of diplomacy, navigating those different cultural worlds.
They had to be. It was essential for their survival and success.
Did this constant juggling of identities actually give them any advantages?
Absolutely. Their ability to adapt and integrate different cultural elements was a key factor in their success. They could appeal to different groups, forge alliances, and even use cultural differences to their advantage.
So it was more than just a survival tactic. It was actually a strategic asset.
Exactly. It was a source of strength and innovation. It allowed them to build bridges between different worlds and rise to positions of power.
So their adaptability wasn't just about survival. It was a source of strength and innovation. It allowed them to thrive in diverse environments and leave their mark on history. But I imagine this constant negotiation of identity also came with its challenges, right?
Of course. There are bound to be tensions and conflicts, both internal and external. Imagine the cultural clashes, the suspicions, the struggle to reconcile different values and traditions. It couldn't have always been easy.
It sounds like a constant balancing act, trying to maintain a sense of self while also navigating the expectations of others.
Exactly. This constant negotiation likely contributed to the complex and often contradictory nature of Norman identity. They could be ruthless conquerors and devout patrons of the chips, skilled administrators and ambitious adventurers.
It sounds like they embraced the contradictions.
They did. They thrived on the challenges of their unique position in the world.
Their story reminds us that identity is not static. It's an ongoing process of adaptation, negotiation, and reinvention.
Well said. It's a process that continues to shape our world today.
Even though the Normans as a distinct ethnic group eventually disappeared, their legacy continues to shape our world.
Their impact is undeniable, from the castles and cathedrals that still dot the landscape to the words we use every day. The Normans left an indelible mark on history, a testament to human resilience, the complexities of cultural exchange, and the enduring power of adaptability.
It's been an amazing journey exploring the world of the Normans. We've seen how they rose from Viking raiders to become some of the most influential figures of the medieval world, leaving a legacy that stretches across continents and centuries. I hope you've enjoyed diving deep with us today. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep discovering the fascinating stories that history has to offer.